Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So, the official translation of One Piece chapter 984 is out. You guys should know how we do this video. We talk about the fan translation, we compare it to the official translation, note any differences, anything worthy of discussion at all, and then we fill out the video with comments from you guys. Again, as per usual, over the past 5 or 6 chapters, the fan translation really isn't that bad. There's just some things to nitpick. But one thing that I found in particular which conveys to me kind of a different meaning is what Kaido says after intruding upon Orochi's proceedings. First here, Kaido talks to his subordinate, who says that Big Mom is on her way. Kaido then steps in onto the platform and says this: "I'm going to liven up the execution of this tedious Brad with an announcement that might catch your attention. Listen up, I'm going to explain the new Onigashima project." In the fan translation, they didn't call it a project, they called it an initiative. While the words are similar, I think that it is more easy to derive meaning from the idea of a project. This implies some sort of greater goal, some aim that you are working towards, that is typically well devised or planned. I say this often, guys, but Oda does his very darndest to sort of foreshadow something, hint at something, and then make you totally forget about it. We already know the aims of this project because Kaido revealed that the very first time that we got to meet him in the story. Kaido's goal has always been to destroy the world, or to cause some massive war. Something similar to this that we've talked about recently is, I think it was like 4 or 5 chapters ago, when Kaido first revealed that he was going to make an announcement of the alliance and all this other stuff, like, that has to occur. So at the time we were like, okay, is the fighting going to start? Is it not going to start? Regardless, eventually we would have had to get to a point in Onigashima and in Wano where Kaido made this reveal as it was sort of implied. And so here we sit, 5 or 6 chapters later, and we have gotten to that moment, and the story has sort of been cultivated in a way to make that possible. You can't make a grand announcement and introduce your new allies when everyone is fighting everywhere and chaos is occurring. Which pretty much meant that 4 or 5 chapters ago we knew that even if the fighting did begin in the next chapter, it didn't, like not really, but if it did, then it would settle down to a point for Kaido to make this announcement. Another example of this is simply the idea of sneaking into Onigashima. At one point we're like, oh, well, how is the Alliance going to sneak into Onigashima with all of these ships and everybody should know that they're there? But that was another thing that was promised. It was a Chekhov's gun. The entire point of the plan was to be sneaky. Which is why time and again Law and others pointed out, hey, we need to stay low-key. Because our plan is built on the premise of arriving when they do not expect it. And even though maybe at this point they should expect it, and Orochi in particular certainly fears it, he's not taken seriously and the whole alliance isn't being taken seriously. So the element of surprise is still in play. And as we see in this chapter, Jinbei and Robin and many of the other samurais are there in the crowd. They do not know this. Not yet. A lot of people don't see how Kaido's war is going to be relevant anymore, or in this case, as he phrased it, his project. Because the fight has instead been taken to him. How can you carry out your plan, your project, if before you have a chance to even start it, you're defeated, right? It doesn't work. I think this is just another example of Oda playing with our expectations. You've forgotten about Kaido's war because it doesn't make sense in the here and now, but the story will be cultivated in such a way that it will become relevant. And we will get to see just what this project entails, and exactly how Oda envisioned it influencing the story. But I want to point to something here, because Kaido doesn't call this his Onigashima project, it's the new Onigashima project. Originally, this had nothing to do with Big Mom. Big Mom as an ally was not a part of it, which is why it's new. It's changed, the project has changed, the plan has changed. I also find it interesting how Kaido calls it the Onigashima project. This just gives me the impression, I don't know if I can fully justify this, but this is what Kaido has been building towards over the last 20 years. He invaded Wano, he allied with Orochi, he made his base Onigashima, all to initiate this Onigashima project, his great war, 20 years in the making. It's going to be relevant. This is the kind of thing, it leads my thoughts in such a direction that makes me believe it's possible the Straw Hats lose here in Wano, or the Kaido arc gets split into 2 parts. At first, maybe Kaido takes the defensive because he is being attacked, but eventually this turns into his project So Kaido goes on the offensive and sets out to accomplish his 20-year-plus long goal, his dream. That's gotta be relevant. Not simply in the knowing that it exists, but seeing it in action. Anyway guys, I just wanted to point to the words here, project versus initiative, and how project, you know, it really, just as soon as reading that, I was like, okay, this is what is being talked about here. Oda hasn't forgotten about Kaido's war, or his individual goals. And it simultaneously confirms that, at least at this point, Big Mom has agreed to join in Kaido's aims of destroying the world, which is a big deal. Knowing this matters because Big Mom has never been about destroying the world. That is not her dream. So having agreed to that is interesting. Big Mom has either lost her mind and completely lost herself, or she never really had an intention of following through with her promise. That's pretty much where I'm at. And it could also be a little bit of both, where she doesn't agree with what Kaido is intending to do, and she does eventually want to betray him, but she will use this alliance for her own aims for as long as possible. So in a way, it becomes a question of how far are you willing to go? How many of your own moral codes are you going to break for the sake of achieving your good? For all Big Mom is, and how much wrong she has committed, she is very self-righteous. She believes herself to be the good guy. And although she deludes herself, she doesn't do so intentionally. So for instance, what Kaido has done to the people of Wano, starved them, and all sorts of stuff like that, as I understand Big Mom, she wouldn't agree to that. But this is how Kaido operates, and she would have to look past it if an alliance were to be feasible. And if we are completely honest here, Big Mom was previously a member of the Rocks Pirates, and they may have operated the very same. Big Mom coexisted there. She may not have liked the other members. It was pretty much stated that the members didn't like each other, but she stayed a member of Rocks until they were defeated. As far as we know, she never turned against them. There's a great moral dilemma here, either for Big Mom herself or her family members who believe in her causes. Such as what Perospero says, I don't care what Big Mom thinks, this alliance, no go for me. I personally like the way that I'm sensing that Oda is framing this. It's funny when we reach a point in which a not betrayal is a plot twist, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. Don't be shocked, guys, if the alliance between Big Mom and Kaido is real. Even if Big Mom eventually plans on betraying Kaido, her family members may not make it that long. And I guess you'd also assume that it would spell doom for the good guys. This sets up some highly emotional moments. But let's get into the comments. I think the reason Kaido said it would cause confusion was he was talking about revealing Yamato as a female for the first time, or possibly proposing a wedding between her and one of Big Mom's sons. Perospero or Daifuku or Mondor come to mind since they're the oldest males there, or to throw a huge monkey wrench, maybe Smoothie? Bro, if Big Mom and Kaido are setting up an arranged marriage between Yamato and Smoothie, I'm all about that. Let's make that happen. No fetish involved here. Jokes aside, I do still believe in the idea that Big Mom and Kaido will cement their alliance with the marriage, because why is Kaido interested in finding Yamato? Like, why is that irrelevant to do right here, right now? It just makes the most sense because this is how Big Mom operates. Alliances are sealed by marriage. This becomes far more interesting, however, with Yamato identifying as a male, or calling himself a male, but, genetically being a female. I'm actually kind of curious about that. At this point, at least, it should be obvious enough that Yamato is not gonna be interested in any arranged marriage. If such a thing were to occur, it would be forced, to a point that you would think it would not work. How exactly this is going to be matched up, if this is the case, is intriguing. Does Kaido, he's been calling Yamato his son, so does he match her with a girl or a guy, or how does he view that? I mean, it's just weird territory. But I agree with what's being said here. Earlier, Kaido said that this announcement would cause a lot of confusion if it got out before he had a time to, announce it himself, essentially. I could see why an arranged marriage between Yamato and a male member of Big Mom's crew would, be concerning, confusing, if you had no idea, which it appears like most do not. Next comment. We talked about this in a review, first reaction, or comments video sometime recently, but the best idea in my mind is that Momo turns into a dragon at some crucial moment, and that changes the situation. At the very least, I'm fairly confident that that's going to occur, because as we can see in this chapter, the members of the Alliance and the Samurai are there in the crowd, they are watching, and to them being raised in Wano, and the way that they see Kaido as a dragon, that puts Momo on a different pedestal, and would even further cement their loyalty and their commitment to him. He becomes then a divine being, and they don't understand devil fruits. But I guess the point is that I could see Momonosuke turning into a dragon, and then Kaido himself stops Orochi from killing Momonosuke. And we can already see it in this chapter, right? Kaido sort of intervenes on Orochi's proceedings, and Orochi is even depicted in the panel like, hey bro, I was like here, but Kaido doesn't care. I really do think that there's going to be a moment where Kaido says, Orochi, we do not need you anymore, be gone, and smashes him like the little fly, the bug that he is. And it really feels like over the past few chapters, Oda has gone out of his way to foreshadow or to hint that Kaido really doesn't care about Momonosuke. He doesn't view him in the same way as Oden, he doesn't fear him, he doesn't recognize him, and so this execution to Kaido is meaningless, which his act in this chapter also demonstrates. Let's spice this up, Orochi, because this is not interesting. You are boring me. Next comment. Ace, I met a guy that called himself Oden when I was in Wano. He was a chill dude, even a bit strange. Whitebeard, I guess Oden is fine even with Kaido there. Thank you for the update, Ace. So this has become a huge controversy of how did Izo and the Whitebeard pirates not try and help Oden sooner? Oden was a former member of their crew. They obviously care about him a lot, and even in the recent chapters, Marco said, we didn't know what happened to him, but how could you not know with Kaido being essentially using Wano as his base of operations for 20 years? How do you not investigate? How do you not check up on him? For a lot of people, this paints the Whitebeard pirates in a negative light. And for all I know, that may be the case. Ultimately, this comes down to trust. Do you trust Oda or do you not? What is your agenda? Are you looking to rationalize what has occurred in the story in a positive way because you are a fan of One Piece? Are you looking at this, trying to turn it into a flaw because you aren't enjoying the story and you need that to be justified in some way? That's just the reality. In this case, I trust Oda. I'm also looking for reasons to enjoy it, not to look down on the Whitebeard pirates. So I prefer, this comment addresses this sort of explanation of, the Whitebeard pirates at some point in time may have gotten concerned about Oden, but figured he would handle his own business. And then, 4 years ago, Ace visited Wano, met Yamato, and Yamato obviously identifies as Oden, probably calls himself Oden, and then reports back to the Whitebeard pirates, Oden is fine. At the very least, this provides a means in which Oda can explain how Ace visited Wano enough to get to know the situation there in general, but did not leave with the news of Oden's demise. Also considering the fact that he had recently joined the Whitebeard pirates and didn't know Oden personally. Honestly, a pretty hilarious moment. It still really doesn't account for the fact that Kaido was in Wano for 20 years, and Ace only visited 4 years ago, so you have a period of really more than that, 25 years or so 21 years in which the Whitebeard pirates kind of let Oden to his own situation. But a huge theme of One Piece as well is to trust your Nakama, and if they come to you and ask for your help to give it, Oden never really asked for the Whitebeard pirates' help. And this way, the Whitebeard pirates honestly would act very similarly to Luffy. If a member of his crew left and then went back to their homeland, Luffy's not going to go check up on them. But if they send out a distress signal, they contact him and say, I need your help, Luffy will be there. At the end of the day, though, I think I don't care all that much. Not really. I think that it takes a certain amount of arrogance to claim that you know the characters in the story better than the character's actual creator. One who has proven time and time again to have his bases covered in this respect. I find that there is usually a way to justify something that does not make sense, and that the author does not need to explain everything verbatim just for the haters out there who are looking to be mad. Next comment. What if the Beast Pirates that sailed out to go kill Whitebeard was actually Yamato going to save Ace, and that's why Shanks got the Beast Pirates so easily and still be able to challenge the Navy and Blackbeard so confidently? So my personal impression is that Yamato has not left Wano. In a way, he's imprisoned there. And all of his dreams sort of relate to Wano, so it would be difficult to leave. And you also have to keep in mind that news does not really travel to Wano very easily, so there's a lot of possibility that Yamato never heard the news. I'm not saying that that happened. Obviously, Kaido would have had to learn, but it's possible. Additionally, as we can see 4 years ago, Yamato somehow met Ace, without Kaido finding out, so it sort of suggests that Yamato is traveling around Wano himself by himself, maybe not next to his father, not listening into his conversations, and then again missed the conversation. I guess my big thing though here is that they said Shanks fought Kaido, not Kaido-san. For many years now, people are trying to understand how Shanks stopped Kaido from intervening in Marineford, and I just feel like a lot of people just stretch and they pull a little bit more than is there in order to support whatever their motivation, their agenda is, whatever their bias may be. As we can see, Kaido in many respects, I mean, when he's not drunk, he can be rationed with. I honest to goodness think that Shanks had a conversation with Kaido, expressed his points, or made some other kind of deal or something of that nature. I do not believe that Shanks and Kaido had a legitimate fight, but that's just my 2 cents and that might be my bias. Maybe Shanks is the strongest Yonko and always has been and just crushed Kaido pretty quickly, completely unscathed, and then it showed up to Marineford like it was no big deal. Next comment. Kaido invaded Wano to extract the location of One Piece from Oden. Meanwhile, his daughter had Oden's logbook to One Piece the entire time. It's true though. Dramatic irony. Every secret that Oden never told to any of his closest friends or family, he probably left in that notebook. Is that confirmed fact at this point? No. But another difference actually in the official translation that we didn't go over is it was sort of highlighted that the logbook had important information in it, which can only really relate to like Joy Boy, the One Piece, things about Laugh Tale, that sort of thing. I kind of assume it has some information in that respect. And Kaido was so close to it. If only you had loved your son more, Kaido. These One Piece themes hit so hard. Next comment. If it's snowing, then the skies are cloudy, therefore the moon isn't out. This might stop the minks from transforming. So what's being talked about here is that in this last chapter, it was pointed out, very, I felt like unnecessarily, that it was snowing. And so for me, this is something that has to play some role in the story. It's got to be relevant in some way. And so the explanation here is probably the one that is most popular, that makes the most sense. It's snowing, therefore the moon is covered up because there's weather. So when the minks go to transform into Sulong, as obviously they intended to do, it will not work. I do like the idea, especially because Inuarashi was the one who pointed it out. But this kind of leads me into ideas that I like significantly less. It's snowing, cue Aokiji with Blackbeard and then Shanks. So this would be really hype, right? But Aokiji has an ice devil fruit, not a snow devil fruit. For his devil fruit to be creating snow isn't impossible, but just seems out of character. In addition to this, you're currently locating in the most perilous part of Onigashima. Why is Aokiji there? I imagine if Blackbeard's going to show up, they're going to do so very quietly and not from the back door, but from the front door because the Straw Hats and company have already created your diversion. As well, because of the snow, I'm hearing Monet. That's another thing that just feels like the wrong time. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, guys. I have, in the past and to this day, believe that there's a possibility Monet is alive, or that sort of thing, but this doesn't feel like the right time. Next comment, Izo didn't change kimono. The cape was shown to be folded around, which casts a shadow to itself and makes it look like it has stripes. So guys, I'm including this just so everyone is prepared, and myself, potentially, for a measurable disappointment. What's being talked about here is that we saw foreshadowed only a few chapters ago a character which we made an argument was Scopper Gabon. So I'm going to go ahead and show this panel on the screen right now. So Izo showed up in one panel, everyone's like, Izo's here, that is confirmed. And then in the next chapter, this person showed up, and the kimono design is nothing like Izo's, and even at the time with the whole conversation, it felt weird. It's like, this might be somebody else. But what this person here is arguing is that this isn't stripes on the kimono as in a design, the kimono is instead folded, so that it's like wavy, and what you're seeing, the black areas, is actually shadow. This may be the case. Again, this is preparing myself and some of you out there for your immeasurable disappointment if there is not another character with Nekomamushi and Izo and Marco. But just frankly, this is not how you draw shadow and wavy edges. You can actually see Oda included the lines where the kimono goes around his leg, which makes sense. These additional lines which Oda included, they communicate something and are necessary along all of the frill if it is in fact wavy, if it bends, but they're only present on the edge where it wraps around the leg. Everything else is stark white and pitch black. But there is no lines or any sort of correct shading here to indicate what this person is trying to say it is supposed to indicate. You look at this and you don't think, oh, those are, shadows of a wavy kimono. No, they're black stripes. If this ends up being the case and this is just Izo, it is terrible art. It just, it would be. It does not communicate what it is intending to communicate. So it is for that reason that I still believe that this person with this kimono, which is not shared by Izo, is a different person. And I mean, even looking at Izo's kimono, right, there's no wavy edges. It's very, firm and straight at the bottom that you can see. And finally, we have the last comment. I think it's possible that Yamato talks about his brother Ace, who died. That's why Kaido is depressed. I think Oda is maybe trolling us here. This is that tinfoil theory, that you subscribe for. This one right here. Yamato didn't meet Ace, Luffy's brother. Yamato was talking about Ace, his own brother, because Kaido's crew has a naming scheme regarding cards and games, and we don't know who the Ace is, and that may have been somebody else. I would not wager any money on this theory whatsoever. I want to make that very clear, but the tinfoil in me really likes it. This is that out-of-the-box thinking. If it happens, you win 100 internet points. At least. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. As always, I'm curious as to what you guys think. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always, guys, have a wonderful day.